and welcome to the Washington Farm Bureau Update, a podcast designed to provide the latest agriculture, legislative, and Farm Bureau information. Well, hello, friends. This is Ben Tyndall, and we are going to jump into yet another episode where we get to meet one of your amazing Washington Farm Bureau staff. And I am welcoming Bailey Peters to the microphone. Bailey, thank you for jumping in and doing this with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm loving these staff interviews. They're super fun.
Well, I'm actually super excited about this conversation because there's some things about you that I know, or at least a little bits of, and I'm super excited to hear more of those stories. But before we do, tell us about your role here at Farm Bureau. You've kind of got a few hats that you wear. Tell me a little bit about those. Go for it.
Well, I'm the public relations specialist here with a little asterisk next to it that's other duties as assigned as well. So my main role is producing all of our publications and writing those articles for neighbors and Farm Bureau News. In addition to that, I do a lot of website edits and run our social media. But another fun thing that I do is I work very closely with our policy team, and that's maybe just because I have a natural interest in this, and I've worked alongside Tom and Bree for almost the last 2 years and just help with their member involvement and communication, but really just blanket statement. I do all things Farm Bureau communication. So whether that's safety information or helping promote webinars or posting about giveaways, just trying to find new avenues to communicate with our members.
It all goes through you. So that's amazing.
The gatekeeper, John calls it.
Exactly. Yes. And you do it beautifully.
Thank you.
Well, you've had a little hand in a whole lot of stuff. Now, tell me a little bit about your farming background, kind of what that has looked like.
I always joke that I have the best of both worlds kind of thing. So I actually live in town. And so I grew up going to, public school and being in more of kind of a city, but kind of rural. But my grandparents, just 10 minutes down the road, have a family farm. And so every year I would spend basically hours out there. I basically grew up in two different homes I like to joke about. And so we raise registered polled Hereford cattle. And I've done that since I could walk. It's as long as I can remember. And as a young child, we were raising them for 4-H and FFA and open class shows. And we could get into that because most people are always like, what is a cow show? So I showed cattle all over the state of Washington and actually all over the country. We went to a few national and regional shows when I was growing up. And now as we've kind of graduated out of those 4-H and FFA programs, we've kind of shifted our production to be more beef production and still breeding for open class shows. But it's something that's been a part of my life forever, and it got me involved in 4-H and FFA and kind of guided my career path, and it's really become kind of a cornerstone of who I am.
Okay, so you grew up farming in these two households, and now you are the public relations person for the Washington Farm Bureau, but the trajectory between these two positions was not a straight shot. You have done a lot in the middle. So tell me about the middle part. What are some of the things that you've accomplished before you came to Farm Bureau?
Well, kind of backstory to kind of how I fell into this career path is through my involvement with FFA. I kind of found out that there was this huge gap between consumers not understanding where their food was coming from. And for a long time, I thought I wanted to be in a classroom and educating, high school students. But then I realized that there's a broader spectrum that's also missing that connection, which is why agriculture communications just kind of became my passion. So I graduated college, and during that phase of my life, I was kind of in this, I'm just going to say yes to whatever opportunity presents itself. So I spent time in Germany with about 30 other fellow college graduates and college students, all from various parts of the country. So I didn't know them until I showed up in Germany, and we stayed in hostels, and we were doing ministry work on college campuses in Germany. And I loved that because it was both uncomfortable but so comforting all at the same time. It was a really good experience for me to just get to know this new culture and get to know new people. And so in that phase of me just saying yes, I also said yes to a performing role at Walt Disney World. And so came home from Germany, was home for about a month, and then packed my bags and moved all the way across the country to Florida.
So
what was your time? How would you contrast your time in Germany to then coming back to Washington? What were maybe some of the things that you saw were different, or maybe some of the things that you think were similar?
When I was in my time in Germany, Crew provides you with these incredible tools. We have different cards that kind of ask some of the tough questions, and those initiate conversation. And I think back to, experiences, you use them in every phase of your life. And so there were some really tough conversations I had to have. There were people that, didn't see eye to eye with me, and I still use that every day of my life. I mean, in my job at Farm Bureau, most members, we communicate, we see on the same page, but there's times that I go to the Hill and I may be helping defend ag policy and with someone that doesn't see eye to eye.
Absolutely.
But I can always find, some sort of conversation and common ground. So I often think back to my time in Germany and being very thoughtful about my responses with people. And I think that kind of prepared me for my time at Farm Bureau.
I love it. Well, okay, now you mentioned a little bit about your time in Florida. So tell me what that was. What were you doing working at Walt Disney World?
Well, actually, it was just 2 years ago yesterday that I was moving there, which is kind of fun to look back and think about. I was hired as a character performer for Walt Disney World, and that was another thing that during my college senior year, I just was in this phase where I was going to say yes to whatever opportunity, and that's always something that I've joked about, is wanting to be a Disney princess.
I love it. Well,
going and performing.
You did it.
And it was such a special experience. And what's unique about that is there were times in Florida when I was in the spotlight, and that was super fun. But there were also times when I was kind of behind the magic. And those were the moments that I appreciated the most about just kind of bringing that story to life. And I was also in the college program there, so I was able to take college classes. I learned about, communication. I got my master's, as they call it.
Nice.
And was able to kind of specialize some more in my communication and marketing skills.
That has to be a powerful leadership opportunity that you can really grow from. Now, one of the things about that program, and I have never been a Disney princess, but what I do understand is they don't just take anybody. You've got to have some pretty incredible skills to even be considered with acting, dancing, music, singing, those kind of things. So I think we can assume you have those skills. Tell me about your background in those performing arts.
Performance has been one of my longtime passions.
Okay.
And I grew up dancing. I started tap dancing when I was 3, and with my entire life, my family had a singing band. Actually, that's another random connection to Farm Bureau. My cousins and I sang at annual meeting all the time. We were Farm Bureau kids that would, if anybody needed some sort of entertainment, it was call the Owens granddaughters. They'll come. So we just grew up performing and had this great appreciation for music and playing instruments, and just kind of every variation of performing I was kind of involved in, and that was instilled in me because of my family. They're deeply rooted in the music industry. I'm the only one that's ever taken the dance route.
Okay.
And to this day, I still teach dance classes. Sometimes I jet out at Farm Bureau when time ends, and I head straight to the dance class and teach there for a couple of hours. So it's something that I love, and I will probably never be able to let go of completely.
Good for you. You've had an incredible, journey over a relatively short amount of time so far. What is something that you would look back and say, here is a lesson that at this point in my life, looking back at all the things I've done or accomplished, what is a lesson that you've learned that you say, I want to take that with me and I'm going to grow off of that?
I think just being open to any opportunity and not just closing a door the first time it opens. I think that some of my greatest experiences have been in actually times of my life where there was a lot of uncertainty, but I just said yes and I just went for it. Being open to opportunity is one thing that's always kind of stuck in my gut.
That's a big deal, though. A lot of times people shy away from risk or shy away from the unknown. And you're proof that someone who is saying yes, and even with that fear or maybe that uncertainty or that risk, you're saying it's worth it and I'm willing to take that jump.
Exactly. And I think as young professionals, and I'm sure you feel this too, it's important in our roles to be able to say yes, that sometimes we might not always, do it 100% right, but that's something in my professional career that I've also found really encouraging, is that it's okay to just say yes and throw yourself 110% at it. And if you fail, that's okay. But I never want to be the person that says no or, I'm a mover and a shaker. And I joke about that all the time. But with Farm Bureau, that's been one of my main goals, is that I want to say yes to what members want to do. I want to say yes to what the staff's vision is and, go at it full-heartedly.
Yes, yes. Just hearing your story, I can already imagine all that you would have missed out or lost if you had started saying no to some of those. Thinking on kind of your journey and your story, how does that help you relate to farmers and the individuals that now in your role here at Farm Bureau you're advocating for and you're communicating with? How does your background, how does that help prepare you for what you're doing today?
I think that my deeply rooted passion for agriculture, that's kind of my foundation. I love ag. I've lived and breathed it for my entire life.
Right.
For multiple generations. My family goes all the way back for generations in Arkansas of farming. And so I have this appreciation. And I also think that all of my different random activities of life and my college degree actually being in human development and communications allows me to really understand people at every phase of their life and how they communicate, how they best receive messaging. And in my role at Farm Bureau, that's really important to kind of analyze how they're going to best receive, our Farm Bureau messaging.
Yeah. Well, okay, now you have gone through so many adventures and so many opportunities. So tell me, is there anything on the horizon that you would say, what's your next big adventure?
Well, I'm getting married.
Okay, that was a little prime. You bet. Just a little bit. We're very excited around here.
Yes, so I'm getting married in September, which has been it's been an adventure and probably the scariest one that I've said yes to yet.
Probably so, but it's going to be amazing.
It is going to be amazing. And, it goes back to my mom and my grandfather being kind of like cornerstones and being my rocks. They have been a rock through planning a wedding during coronavirus.
That's true.
It is craziness, but it's going to happen. And, whatever that looks like, whether it's 5 people or whether it's 500, who knows? Because every day changes, but it's happening. And I have a wonderful fiance, Trevor, who also grew up showing cows. We actually showed cows together when we were little.
I love this.
I'm very excited for this next adventure.
That is super exciting. Well, congratulations. This is definitely something we're really cheering you on.
Thank you.
And you do amazing work here. So thank you for taking the time and sharing with us. I know our listeners are going to love this. I have certainly enjoyed getting to hear it. So thanks. The WFB Update is a production of the Washington Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture in Washington State, ensuring our family farms continue to feed the world. To learn more, visit our website at www.wsfb.com.